What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I'm here with Anthony and Mike, and we are discussing Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. Yay! This movie, y'all.
Woo.
This
Can
movie.
can can I get something out the way first?
Yes, get it out the way. What you got?
Okay, so I heard through the grapevine that I'm an overly critical individual when it comes to
What?
movies and TV shows.
No.
But
I
I'm gonna so um coming out of this movie, yes, I was like, what was that? Like I was like, I was so not interested. Like I was overwhelmed with the number of Spider-Man. The captions were going up too fast. It was too much. And I just thought it was too much. However, after having marinated over the last couple of days, thinking about it and reflecting, it was actually really, really good. Like all my criticisms were kind of stupid. So I actually, I'm actually, it was actually pretty freaking amazing. The acting, the artwork, the story, the ending, but
no. You see, you're on a roll. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going.
But I thought overall it was a really good movie. I think a lot of it had to do with also really loving the first movie. Like the first movie is damn near perfect. And it was hard. What I had to do was separate the movies. So I look at this movie as like not really a continuation of the first one, but more or less the beginning of a story inspired by the first one.
Okay.
Like it set up the beginning. It was based like the intro, and then this was chapter one.
Right.
And once I did that, I realized, okay, yeah, this movie was really, really amazing. And all the work that had to have gone into every frame of the movie, trying to keep track of all the Spider-Man and all the different art styles, all the callbacks, and it really felt really good. And I was like, yeah, it was really good. I was impressed.
Okay.
I was amazed. It was spectacular.
It was. It was. I mean, that's all I could say was like, this movie was amazing. This movie was amazing.
I understood the reference.
And
It was
as
amazing
somebody
and
who was
spectacular.
not familiar with all of those variations of Spider-Man, every time I saw a new one, I got excited. I was just like, oh my God. It's kind of like you walking into I forgot what they called it,
Spider-Verse. Oh, the spider
the headquarters. I can't think of what they called it, but it's like you walk into there and it's like a bigger version of a clown car. Like you just keep pulling and Spider-Man just keeps showing up and keep showing up and keep showing up. And it's like you got female Spider-Man and you got men, you got boys, you got the little baby that belongs to Peter, and you've got like live action like Donald Glover. What the fuck? I was like, what?
That made me feel so bad. I was like, my heart was bursting. I was like, yes, they finally brought him in. Thank you so much. And he was just like I thought he would be. Like when they were chasing him and when they were chasing Miles and they were all the villains were booing, he was just sitting like, boo. I was like, this is so fucking cool.
It was, especially since him being the inspiration for Miles Morales.
Right.
It was
very
and
full
then playing the Prowler is like, oh, we played the Prowler. I was like, oh, it's Donald. I was like, oh fuck, they're putting him in a be like he's outgrown Miles. I'm like, fuck shit, because he would. I honestly think that Donald Glover is probably one of the things that I'm confident saying that the comic whoever created Miles Morales was partially inspired by Donald Glover.
They said they were.
They did, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they said they were when they created him. They were. The fact that someone had talked about Donald Glover being Peter Parker, and they're like, oh man, and then they created Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I thought. All right.
But it was so good. Like you had you had a spider person in a wheelchair. You had one riding a horse. You had a spider cat, a spider pig, a spider, like everything.
T-Rex.
Right. The the fucking T-Rex. I was like, oh, we're gonna see, even though we've seen them at Dragon Con, there's gonna be a lot of them at Dragon Con this year.
True.
Uh,
You even had a little bitty Lego Spider-Man. It's like that
L-
that whole Lego world was just phenomenal. I was like, that's dope. I didn't care about. That's one of the more impressive Spider-Man that they introduced. And it's like I was just that's just genius. Like the whole thing.
I loved it. I loved it. I just sat at the screen and I was just smiling pretty much the whole time. I was like, this is amazing. And then all the different ways that they animated the characters, and you're looking at a scene with like four different types of animation in the same scene. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not artistic in that way. Like when I was a kid, I could draw a little bit, but I'm nowhere. Like I'm sitting there looking at the screen, like, how do they do that? I want to learn. Teach me. Like so amazing.
Yeah.
It was just, oh my God. It was, I enjoyed this
Yeah.
movie so much. I didn't even,
Yeah. I did too.
honestly, wouldn't even care about, I won't say I didn't care about the story, but I was like, they didn't even have to have a story. I just wanted to see all the stuff that I saw. Now they did have a story and it was a pretty decent one, but still it was like, I loved
Yeah,
it.
but I appreciated the story. I mean, I think this is like Anthony said, the first one was damn near perfect.
Mm-hmm.
This one's pretty damn close too. I was thoroughly for for what for how much they had to do. They
Mm-hmm.
did a fucking outstanding job. I mean, filling it, writing all the Spider-Man, doing all the like you said, all the different animations, especially for Hobie. Like Hobie shit was just crazy.
Do you
And
see
it's
my
like I
screen
was just like,
name? I heart
I
Hobie.
know,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I know. And it's like I was like, the effects, of course, were great. I still can't believe like so many people have said that it took Sony to be able to show a proper multiverse better than Marvel because this is like almost better than any of the multiverse stuff that they've done. It's
don't.
like,
Whoa. Slow your roll, bruh.
So
Slow
hey,
your
no,
roll.
no, I let
But
you talk.
no,
I
no,
let you
no,
talk.
no,
I
no,
let you
no,
talk.
no. I'm just gonna say, oh, Sony didn't have much to do with this. It was still, remember, it was in production. It was in association with Marvel.
Okay, cartoon
Don't
live
think,
action. How about that?
don't think that the Marvel people were not involved in the production of this film.
Could have fooled me because it actually seemed like some people were having fun instead of trying to create a blockbuster. It just seemed like they were writing and designing sets and like everything they did seemed like it was for like they enjoyed doing it and they really didn't have that much pressure on them. Like they were like we don't have
No,
as much pressure as like movies coming out like doing all this other stuff. We're gonna do what we want to do. We're gonna take this
I
stack
don't
big ass
know
stack of
about that because you talk about, it seems like they didn't have any pressure. You're talking about the first film won Oscars. Or that's kind of,
they have their own. They have
comparatively
their own
speaking.
internal pressure. Yeah, but
But
see, the thing is, I don't want to go back and forth about this, but like, I just don't want to give Sony too much credit because Sony has been known to fuck shit up all the time.
no,
Like that,
Sony fucks shit up on a regular
yeah.
basis. No, I
So they
agree.
probably were like,
Yeah,
you know what? They gave them the money to make the first movie. First movie did awesome. Guess what? Y'all do it again. We'll leave you alone and whatever. But I don't want to say that. Yeah. So I don't think Sony had that much to do with it. I'm sure they just wrote
they
checks.
still they it seemed like they were writing from a place of artistic love rather than like throwing
Yeah,
stuff together.
let's give the director, the creators, those guys
100%.
more credit
They get a shit ton of.
than
I
the
was giving
Sony
him.
people.
I
It
was.
wasn't like they have a Feige sitting there telling them what to do, which is what's going on over there.
Which was
But
my point. But
but
that's fine.
however, they still had things because the one thing that Marvel has said that Into the Spider-Verse is a part of the MCU.
Right.
So I think as far as that goes, they're still going to have some people from Marvel involved in this production. Just for that, just to make sure that everything is copacetic. Because if you track this multiverse thing, I don't know. Maybe I said this. I was a little worried about the multiverse. Maybe I said in the previous podcast about something else a while ago. Maybe one of the TV shows that this whole the whole multiverse thing from from Loki is going to like completely change how everything is done in the MCU. And you see it's happening. Like we had in No Way Home, we got the multiverse. Then you have it, we saw it with Kang in Ant-Man. You see this is like a culmination of all the things that they have seeded to us with Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness, which this is all going to be part of that.
They
like
even
all of
referenced
this.
them. They even referenced Strange
everything.
and Peter Parker. So yeah,
they referenced everything, and I don't think it's a video that's starting to make the rounds again on YouTube is the video of the announcements about the future movies. And then you see Kang Dynasty and then Secret War are the two Avenger movies. And you realize that the multiverse is going to have a direct effect on everything that's happening now in this phase of the MCU. Culminating in Secret Wars, where you're going to have probably superheroes from different universes battling, to make sure the universes come back together.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, Mike, I kind of hijacked your thing.
It's
but
fine.
Continue, please.
I don't care.
Sorry, I'll step back.
Fine. No, but it's like I might be, and you're right. I might be out of pocket this episode because I really love this movie. So y'all probably gonna disagree with about 60-70% of what I say tonight. So just get ready because I don't care because I love this fucking movie. This is my favorite movie of the year so far. It actually surpassed Guardians 3 because the creativity that it took to get all this together, the voices they had on the, like, oh my god, like everybody that they had doing voices. I mean,
let's go down the list. Let's go down the list. You have Shamik Moore, you have Haley Steinfeld, you have Daniel Kaluuya, who was Spider-Punk. You have Oscar freaking Isaac, which I'm gonna admit I couldn't catch his voice because it's like I was paying so much attention to the character. And I was like, I know this voice, but
as soon as he said his first word, I was like, oh, that's Oscar Isaac.
I
haven't even looked at the casting list. And I was like, oh, that's that motherfucker. I knew that
character.
Miguel, I have the first 8 issues of Spider-Man 2099, and he is amazing and scary all at the same time.
Oh my god, he got on my nerves.
He's a fucking vampire Spider-Man. Like, yeah, he's scary as fuck.
No, but anyway, let's continue going down this list right quick. We have Brian Tyree Henry, Issa Rae. Okay.
So Issa, she was good as Jessica Drew.
Why does her character look just like her though? Like literally, I was like, that's literally like y'all literally photocopied her face and put it on a character. It was amazing. Let's see, Jason Schwartzman. Lauren
he was spot on. He was spot on in his portrayal.
Yeah, Lauren Velez, Andy Samberg, Catherine Hahn was in there a little bit. Jack Quaid, Amanda Lestet.
Yeah, Karan Sony, the guy that played Dopinder was Pavir.
Is that who that was? Yep. Okay. Now his voice, I kept saying he sounds like the guy in Deadpool. I was like,
that was him. Yep.
Okay. Just
oh my god.
Like
everybody, Amanda Stenberg.
Yeah, you can. It's like that talent. There's just.
How about Jack Quaid? Jack Quaid played the Peter Parker in Gwen's World.
Oh, the best friend.
Yeah.
The one who.
Yeah, the one that turned to Lizard.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
did not realize that. Yeah, just this list: J.K. Simmons, Mahershala Ali, Ziggy Marley.
Ziggy Marley was in it. Like
Yeah.
it's such a random group of people. Elizabeth Perkins, Elizabeth Perkins was in it. One of the guys, Nick, I think one of the guys that actually played the Spider-Man that he portrayed in the cartoon. I think his name is Nick. I can't remember. I'm trying to find it.
Mm,
Hold on. But yeah, it's like there are a lot of people like that, like people who have done the voice before. Nick Novicki, yeah, that's him. No, it's
okay.
not. But that's the Nick Novicki was the Lego one. There's someone else, but I can't find him right now. But oh my god, so many talented voices in this, man. This movie really, as like it hit a soft spot for me. I was just like, I'm in, like whatever. I actually literally wanted to sit there and wait till next year so I could have a good seat for the next movie.
I was just like, as we were getting towards the end, I was like, okay, I already know that this movie is going to be split in half. I knew this going in, and I was still a little upset when To Be Continued came across the screen, because I was like, so you know how people always talk about, you know what? Give us a 3 hour movie, give us a 4 hour movie. If it's really good, we'll watch it. This is one of those movies where I would have been like, okay, you know what? Let me just throw on a Depends and let me just sit in the movie theater because want to go anywhere. And going back to what you were saying, Mike, about it being your favorite movie of the year, I have seen a lot of people online talking about this is the best comic book movie thus far. Now, I have seen a couple of people who have already had advanced screenings of that other comic book movie that's coming out next week. They're like, nope, that's going to be it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But for right now, the one with the problematic actor that we probably
Oh,
will
that
also
shall not
be,
be named.
yeah, that
Okay,
we
yeah.
probably will also be talking about. But Anthony's
Oh,
looking the
If we
yeah,
must.
I got it.
thank you, Michelle.
And time. All right,
No,
thanks for playing.
she's not here.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so um
Yeah.
I have been hearing a lot of people talk about how this is like the best comic book movie. They were like, there's so many great things about it. It's damn near perfect, like we said. And it was just, even the way that they came in, because you got your little introduction, and then you get the scene, and it starts out with Gwen telling a little bit of her story and what's going on, and we get to see the little background of her best friend, her Peter Parker, and him taking the serum, he's turning into the lizard guy, and she accidentally kills him because again, he's a big freaking lizard. And she accidentally kills him. Her father finds her over his body as, Spider Gwen. And she's just kind of like, she has to leave because once he realizes who she is or what she is, he still wants to arrest her, and he still thinks that she could have killed her best friend. And then you get the other opening credits, and then it goes into Miles' story. I was like, wait, what just happened? Because you don't usually see that type of intro employed very often. And I was like, oh, okay. So they basically was like, okay, so they're giving us her story, letting us know where she's coming from, and then you get Miles' story. And then when the two stories converge, it's kind of like, oh, that makes total sense now. Because she's trying to figure out, like, she's all alone and she's met these new spider people, and she becomes part of this group, and she's supposed to stay away from him. And of course, Miles, being a teenage guy, he's only 15. He's like, oh, this is the girl I'm crushing on. I thought I'd never see her again. No, wait, I can turn invisible. I'm going to follow her because something she's doing is not right. Just the way that whole story kind of came in and played out. I was sitting here, and we talk about this a lot. I'm hearing Casey's voice in my head. Miles need a whooping. Miles need a whooping. Miles, don't do that. Miles, don't go there. Miles, why are you being nosy? No, Miles, leave her alone. But then when Gwen, when she comes and she sees Miles, And basically what she's doing is she's kind of sort of using Miles to find the Spot, which is the villain that we're introduced to towards the beginning of the movie. And he was one of the scientists from the collider accident in the last movie. And he's now turned into this little, I guess he's a blob, kind of sort
No,
of.
not a blob, but
No.
he has portals on his body.
Yeah, but
He can
he's not really a, well, I guess he kind of sort of is a solid. He's a solid figure, but it, when I saw him at first, I was like, wait, how the fuck did Rorschach get in this movie? Because that's who I thought it was
He's
at
kind of
first,
no,
Rorschach-ish.
because
no, he
he
has
resembles Rorschach. So I was
yeah,
like,
but his those black spots are the Spot. Those are portals
mm-hmm.
that he's slowly figuring out. Because in the comic book, he can't do multiverse travel, but he can just travel through the portals.
Yeah,
Because he was in the comic books, he was a scientist who was studying, Cloak from Cloak and Dagger. It was a short-lived TV series, but it was
yes, I
also a
know.
very popular
My
comic
son
book.
was a fan of that show. So
Yeah.
yes.
So was I. I
He
love that
was
show.
he was studying Cloak's I forgot what it's called, but the dark dimension that he has. He was
Ah,
studying that to see how it worked and to figure out how to use it. And he actually basically did what he did. He didn't do it to himself in this movie, but in the comic book it kind of backfired on him, and he sort of became almost like Cloak, but he had holes instead of his whole body being that way.
okay. Yeah, because it was weird. It's like he's got all of these spots on him, and we're introduced to his character because he's trying to steal money out of an ATM. And this scene, I was sitting there looking at this scene, and I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
Oh, but can we go back for a second though?
Yeah.
You were saying that Casey was saying Miles needs a whipping. No,
No,
no, no.
I
It
said that
wasn't.
I was hearing Casey because
You said, oh, okay.
every time we
Because
have children who don't do what they're supposed to do, that's
Yeah,
Casey
Miles
saying
need a
they
whoop.
need a whooping. They need a
that was
whooping.
Gwen who wasn't doing what she was supposed to do. We learned she was given specific instructions to not interact with him, and all she had to do, she could track Spot. She didn't need him to find the Spot. She could find him on. She was just supposed to watch him, take care of him. She was the one that got sidetracked and screwed everything up.
I know, but even
Come on now.
so, the
Come on
fact
now.
that
Put
you
blame where blame is due.
no, and you are right. She does have a large part in that, but the moment you turn invisible and you start sneaking around following people, that's a little stalkerish. I have a problem with that. Even though he's a superhero, he's trying to figure out what's going on, but it's
That wasn't necessarily stalking. That was
No,
investigating.
he was investigating. She abruptly disappeared. Didn't tell him where she was going. He was like, "Wait a second, things is going great." He's like, "I need to figure out what she's up to." He was just trying to see where she was going. He wasn't. If he had been stalking her, he'd been stalking her from the get go.
yeah, no, that's
She
what I'm
was
saying.
the one.
I'm not
She was
saying
the
he
one
was
doing what.
actually stalking her. I'm
She
saying
was the one who interjected herself when she wasn't supposed to. She was told no contact with Miles.
she
Period.
wanted to see how her friend was doing. I mean, think about it. The last time she saw him, he lost his uncle. He found out his uncle was a criminal. He found out his uncle was his kind of sort of arch enemy. He on him. She just wanted to make sure he was okay, but she should have done that from a distance. That is true. Especially once it opened up.
I'm speaking of, I mean, if we're talking about stalkerish behavior, she opened that
I
portal
didn't
like
say okay. Y'all are taking that way out of. I did not say he was stalking her. What I was saying was in any other
I'm just saying Gwen
context,
seems
in
Stalkerish.
any other
all I'm saying is
context,
Gwen was
that would
acting
have
kind of
been weird.
stalkerish.
It would have
I
been
mean,
weird.
she opened a portal exactly at a very close point. Like it looks like she opened the portal. She had experience opening that portal where she opened it, like right where Miles's head, right where his head would be. So I'm like, how many times have you done this before? It seems like you know exactly where to put it, where you can watch Miles and he can't really see you, and then you can close the portal real quick if you have to. I think she's been stalking him a while. and just hasn't like talked to him. Like maybe she's been watching over him.
Yeah, see,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I have a theory.
We're not gonna call
But
it
yeah, okay.
stalking on anybody's
It might
part.
not be stalk. It might not be
It's
stalkerish,
not
but
stalking.
I'm just
Look, they're
saying.
looking after each
I,
other,
I think she's been watching him.
but she had some. She was being a little sketchy with him. So yeah, I can understand him like, okay, this is someone who is from another dimension. I haven't seen in we don't exactly know what the time span is from the first movie to the second movie, do we? Because I don't
It's
think they mentioned it.
He was a freshman and now he's a sophomore.
Okay, so it could be months depending on the time of
Yeah.
year that it was, or it could be
Not a year, but maybe 7 or 8 months.
right, because I think in
5 months
the
maybe.
first movie he was just starting at that school.
Yeah.
He had just transferred to that school, and now okay, so so I get that she wants to check in on him, see how he's doing, because again, Miles had a lot of stuff going on with him in the last movie. But yeah, I think if you were if you went into that situation knowing the information that you found out later on about Miles and how his I don't want to say existence really, but is it kind of his existence? Or just him being who he is, how it has long bearing repercussions on that whole multiverse. If you know this going in, you should have left them alone. But again, we're talking about teenagers. We're talking about 15-year-olds. This is somebody who has lost his uncle, who had all of this stuff happen to him, who became a spider person by accident. This is someone who, on the other end, she has lost her family. She has lost her best friend. Her father basically thinks that she's a killer. So to reach out to someone who like they said when they were sitting upside down on the building, someone else who understands what you're going through. But good grief, do those decisions have such consequences? Goodness, I mean, they were fun for me on the one hand because you get to see all this stuff. We got to see what 200 something Spider-Man doing the whole point thing. That was
That
fun.
was hilarious.
Getting to
You knew they
watch.
were going to do that. There's no chance they're leaving that out.
Oh, I saw it in I think it was in one of the trailers. You got to see like a small snippet of it, but I didn't
Yeah.
realize there were going to be that many Spider-Men. So to see all of them doing it at the same time, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But oh, the other thing while we're talking about, we mentioned Donald Glover and his cameo. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. When they started talking about the other universes with Spider-Man, and you saw Toby and you saw Andrew, when I say I started crying in the theater because it's like it's No Way Home all over again, just not quite, because I don't think we saw Tom's version of Spider-Man.
Interesting, they left out Tom Holland's version in that scene,
But
yeah.
you have to remember, well, I don't know if this has anything
Well,
to do with it, but nobody remembers that he's Spider-Man.
well, that's true. But there's a debate over who it affects, though. Like, we don't really know and I think this is on purpose, but we don't know the extent of Doctor Strange's spell. Like, did that cross the multiverse? Did it just affect people on Earth? Like, do the Guardians of the Galaxy know who he is? So, I mean, like, there's a lot of questions about exactly the extent of his thing. So it's probably intentional they left it out.
Yeah.
But
Because even when they
it would still count though.
see, and that's the thing, like I need to go back and rewatch it because there was that they like made a specific reference about Doctor Strange and that Spider-Man, but they called him what did they say, that idiot on Earth, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Earth 19999.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay attention to all of the dialogue because again, I'm going in, this is the first time, like I have no idea about any of this stuff, so I'm watching it, trying to get the information, and I thought I was going to have a chance to go back and watch it again before we did this, and I just haven't. But I want to go back and see how that's framed now, because I'm like, okay, did they not call him Spider-Man on purpose because they don't know he's Spider-Man? They just know, okay, this idiot did something.
Well, they know there is a Spider-Man, they just don't know it's Peter Parker. So they wouldn't ever think of him as a Peter Parker. Like, you know how there are different Spider-Man, like, you know, Miguel O'Hara is Spider-Man. They just would know that there's a Spider-Man on that did something stupid on 1999. They just don't know exactly what he did, but they don't know he's Peter Parker.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
because the other thing is there's a reason why he doesn't use the suit that Tony gave him, is because the suit doesn't recognize who he is. So that's why he had to make his own suit.
Oh, yeah.
So so it's possible that the machine, the computers still wouldn't know that it was a Peter Parker, but they would still kind of know his story. That's probably why you didn't see a picture of Peter Parker standing over Aunt May dying. But the other thing is she don't fit in the story either, because she wasn't a police captain, and they tried to make a big deal about the captains dying. So she didn't really fit in that either. So she wasn't the captain, and she wasn't an Uncle Ben.
Yeah, but you know, I think so, kind of like with the Spider-Man, like you said, all Spider-Man are not Peter Parker. And even in what we see in this multiverse, they're not all men. Like I said, there were some spider women, there's some spider animals. You know, we met the spider pig in the first one. So I think just like there are those variations with the Spider Man, there could be the variations with the others. Like, yeah, there wasn't, so in Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man, we didn't meet an Uncle Ben, but we did have Aunt May. You know, that part of the story, like I don't even think we know what happened to his Uncle Ben in the MCU. Like they never said it. It's never been portrayed as if it was a tragic tale. What we're used to, he could have just died of old age. He could have just skipped and been like, okay,
there may not have been an Uncle Ben.
That's true. But I think that's different because when the other two Peters come and they start figuring out their similarities, when they said Uncle Ben said that, he kind of looked at them like, what? And I felt like that was okay, so your Uncle Ben died in this way, but mine didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like his Uncle Ben might not even be dead. I mean, they are in modern times. Uncle Ben and Aunt may not have worked out. They may be divorced. You know, so we don't know enough about that. And in that same way, like I said, or like you were saying, she wasn't a police chief, but what happened with her had an impact on him as a character. But maybe it was those particular, I don't know, those particular worlds where their parent was the police chief, maybe those are the ones that had like a certain thing happen, and the ones who had the Aunt May's died, maybe something else happened, or you know, it's just
okay. So you bringing
multiverse.
up the thing Miguel talked about, which was canon, and breaking canon kind of messes things up. But like I was thinking, I think Miguel was so close minded and so focused in on the wrong thing, because to me, Miles had already had his moment when his uncle died. Like that's who he was close to. He wasn't close to his father. So it's possible that saving his father won't break canon because he's already had his thing.
Right. I can see that.
And if Miguel was even going by his own logic, he wasn't even supposed to be Spider-Man. Like he wasn't even supposed to be a part of the Spider-Verse or whatever. He wasn't even involved in that. So if his father dies or if he saves his father, it shouldn't affect anything. But but again, he already lost his uncle. Because like I said, his uncle was more like his father than his father, or to him, he was closer to his uncle than he
He was
was his
closer
own
to his
father.
uncle, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and
Now
I
it
don't think
does
it was
raise it.
necessarily about him not being close to his father, but I think just like with most kids who are 15, you don't get along with your parents at that age, and you
Yeah.
gravitate towards the next closest thing to you, which for him would have been his uncle, because where mom and dad are like hovering and trying to, you know, they they've got you, they're smothering you a little bit. The uncle is going to be a little bit more carefree, a little bit more, hey, let's go do this thing your parents said we can't do, that sort of thing, you know. So, but
That's why I'm interested in finding out this other Miles Morales, what his story is. Like, how did his father die? What made him become the Prowler?
yeah, the
Because
one
then
at
I'm
the
starting to
end.
think that maybe the spider in that universe was intended for him.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah,
Because
that's why it was.
they showed him and Spider 42 sitting next to him. Shout out to them, by the way, of just putting the whole plot point that's going to be really important, like right there in the beginning of the movie, like biting Miles on the hand with 42 on its ass, just like, and it's like, oh, cool.
I
I
have
guess
a
that's going to be
theory.
important.
I have a theory. I don't think the 42 universe Miles Morales is necessarily bad. And if he is bad, I think he's not going to pass up an opportunity to save his father. Like maybe he felt like he couldn't save his father before, and that's why he became the Prowler, because he wanted to be able to save people. And so now here he is with an opportunity to save his father. Once Miles,
Yeah.
once Miles, what is Miles's universe? Our Miles, I can't think of it. But once he realizes what this Miles is trying to do, maybe he's going to do it for him.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting to see how that happens, because
Yeah,
then it will
I
be a
mean,
non-Spider-Man who should have been Spider-Man breaking canon.
look, Canon is the real villain in this whole thing. That's why I put that as my name. Like for real, if this is what happens, there's so many geeky little motherfuckers that are so happy with this movie because they can point to and be like, see, that's what canon does. You have to follow canon. If you don't follow canon, there's chaos. Without canon, there's chaos. Like there's so many like little Twitter nerds. They're just like, yeah, see, I told you. They understand me. I'm like, this is not the way. Like, no.
Sidebar. I think they just gave Marvel an out and Kevin Feige an out with the Kang situation, because
Yeah.
you just showed us that you can have a whole bunch of different people in the multiverse be Spider-Man. So you can necessarily have a bunch of different people be a Kang. So they might be able to
No, they could totally do it.
retcon. They can retcon that. It would break canon, but you do what you have to do based on the circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about a little bit of that with the MCU while I was watching this film, and again, this film had so many moving parts and so much for someone like me who is unfamiliar with all of the, like, okay, I know I'm starting and stopping because I have all these things going in my head. One of the things I appreciated as a non-comic book reader was the fact that every time they introduced a major Spider-Man in the movie, they also put the comic that they were referencing for that Spider-Man on the screen. And as I'm sitting here watching this, and as I'm sitting here learning about these different Spider-Man and listening to them talk about different things, I was like, the next time I come watch this movie, I have to bring a notebook. I have to jot notes down because I really want to go and find out all this stuff now.
It goes too fast.
I know.
You're gonna have to
I'll
wait
send
till
you
it comes out
I'll send you a
on
YouTube
Disney Plus
video.
where you can like
Yes,
pause.
do that, please.
I'll send you a YouTube video of someone explaining all the spiders.
Yes, because
New Rockstars, he did a fucking great job.
I was in Heavy Spoilers did one that was really good.
Yeah.
Too.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so real quick on that. I forgot I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it was trying to watch all of this and trying to absorb all of the information, and for me really trying to keep the story straight. Like, of course I knew Peter Parker, the Peter Parker from the last movie. Him I remember because of course he was a major part of the last movie, and his baby is the cutest little baby. I'm so glad we got a spider baby, and she's just adorable, and I can't wait to see her in the next movie. But
Mayday's gonna be good.
you have her, and then you have Gwen, and I was really hoping to see some of the other Spider-Man from the last movie, and I'm glad we did get to see them at the end. But at the same time, I was kind of like, I don't know how I'm going to keep all this straight in my mind. Like, this is crazy. And then listening to the stories of what is Miguel's, he's Spider-Man 2099.
2099.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk
Not
about
a vampire. Let's get that correct. He's not a vampire.
So is he supposed to be a vampire? Because I've heard
No,
people...
he has fangs and he has venom. He's not a vampire. He's not sucking anyone's blood or eating people. He actually has he has his 50% of his DNA was rewritten with spider DNA.
Okay.
There's a whole story about Miguel.
Okay, because I was gonna say they didn't explain any of that in this movie, right? Like, okay.
He was a geneticist. He's a brilliant geneticist. In the future, they were trying to figure out how to recreate Spider-Man with the little few records they had of Spider-Man.
Okay.
His first test subject died. So he changed his mind. He was like, he worked for Alchemix, actually. He's like, I don't want to do this. And the guy who runs Alchemix was like, no, you're going to do this. And he slipped him this really powerful, very addictive drug.
Mm-hmm.
And Miguel did not want to be an addict. So he snuck back into Alchemix because he had copied his DNA profile, and he was going to rewrite his DNA back to normal so he wouldn't be addicted to the drug anymore. Well, someone else was there, sabotaged the machine, and the Spider-Man DNA or spider DNA got spliced in with his DNA. So 50% of his genetic code was rewritten.
What were we talking about a few weeks ago? I don't remember if it was
It was like The Fly.
Or if, we referenced something. I was like, don't they know that when they keep fucking with stuff, it's not going to work out the way they want?
Nope. Well, it would have worked for him except for that idiot that was trying to sabotage the whole thing for him. Yeah. And so, he got the things in his arms to shoot webs. He doesn't stick to things. He actually has talons on his fingertips that fold and unfold.
Okay.
That they're strong enough to pierce the metal. That's how he climbs.
So he basically like the Wolverine of the Spiderverse.
Sort of. There's a Wolverine.
He's more like,
but yeah.
His claws are more like Sabretooth. Like
okay.
they come out.
Okay.
Well,
the claws. Yeah, they don't come out of.
They're not even like nails. They're talons that are on his fingertips.
Oh, okay.
So they fold and unfold.
Oh.
Because he can actually hurt himself if he doesn't concentrate and fold them in.
Okay.
And he has fangs that have venom. Because there are spiders that have venom sacs that bite either tarantulas, brown recluse, black widows. So it's not a vampire. He actually can paralyze you or kill you by biting you.
Okay. So, like I mentioned earlier, he did kind of get on my nerves. And I understand his motivation. Like, you were the original fuck up, if you want to put it like that. Like, you saw a Spider-Man or you saw your counterpart in another universe having the life that you loved, and then that one died and you went and took his place. You basically did a Black Widow in What If, but reversed, because that Black Widow had nothing else in her universe, so she went to a different universe where they had no Black Widow. He kind of sort of did the same thing, but didn't he leave like a whole world behind? Like, he didn't have a similar circumstance where he was the only person left and then he went to another dimension. He just saw somebody's life that he envied and was like, oh, deuces, I'm going over here. So he was the original fuck up. So I understand why he was trying to tell Miles, you can't do this, you can't change this. Things have to happen the way they have to happen in order for things not to break. But to sit there and try to pin it all on a 15-year-old, you aren't even supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be your Spider-Man. You're going to do this. You're going to screw things up. You have to make a choice. You have to let one person go in order to save the many. Why does that responsibility fall on his shoulders? Because you
think
were the
about
original.
think about the anxiety that Miguel had to feel.
I
He
know.
killed an entire universe. Like it's like him and the Doctor Strange that had killed his entire universe. That's a lot of anxiety. That's a lot of stress. That's a lot that you're carrying with yourself. Trillions and trillions of people that because of one decision you made, you kill them all. So yeah, he's trying to in an unfortunate way, trying to explain that to Miles. Like, you don't want this on your conscience.
Unhealthy,
Right. He
mad
couldn't
scientist.
he couldn't really Miguel's not really good at interpersonal relationships. This is why this Miguel didn't have relationships. But he was really trying to explain to him the gravity of the situations. Like, you can literally be responsible for the death of trillions of people. Like, you do not want that.
Oh my God.
He really should have tried to explain it. You know, and the other problem he had is his, like I said earlier, his short-sightedness and inability to kind of open his mind to different possibilities. That is probably Miguel's biggest fault. Like, that's what they were trying to explain to him. Like, well, maybe it's not necessarily the case in this instance, but unfortunately, he's seen it happen. He's been a party to it. He doesn't want to see it happen again.
I understand, but good grief. That dude, I was
we've seen this character. I was gonna say we've seen this character before. That the Doctor Strange that was about to kill America. Like, the only way to save everyone is to kill her.
I know.
So we've seen this character.
But you know what? But we only saw 2 minutes of that version of Doctor Strange, you know, because shit kind of fell apart very quickly for him. This was
technically we did see him again at the end.
No,
I mean that kind of was him technically. I mean, DNA biologically, you could say that was him. I mean,
no. We're not going there. We're not having this conversation. But anyway, like I said, so I get it. I understand his motivations and everything, but it's like you are trying so hard to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself and that you keep this kid from doing all of this. And I know I'm not going to make sense because I'm speaking from a mama point of view. This is still a kid. You got to approach that a little differently, because you tell a child they can't do something. What is the first thing they're going to do? They're going to do it. You can't press the red button or else everyone will die.
What does this do?
Prove it. Prove it. So
what was that? I think there was an issue or a cartoon where this Damien was in the Batmobile with Batman, and he said, "Don't touch that button." And Damien reaches over and presses the button.
It's like the Mandalorian and Grogu. Don't touch that. Leave that alone. And Grogu's like,
no.
right. But I understand his motivations. But I just think a little bit more.
But from Miguel's perspective, you decided you want to be Spider-Man, and you made this decision, and being Spider-Man causes you to make adult decisions. So you're going to be treated like an adult. Yep. That's because that's the life you chose. Miguel is not his dad. Miguel is not his mom. He's a Spider-Man telling him, you know, even Peter Parker knows this. We made that. You treat him, and every time Jessica said mentor to Peter, I swear she was like, "You are a terrible parent," because look what happened to your child. Look at him.
Mm-hmm.
Look at him. And he's like, well, Mayday is going to be good,
Right. He was like, he
mean,
did such and such. So technically speaking, I am a good man. Okay, that's the other thing. I did like the banter. I did like the comedy. I did like the jokes, because it's like, you guys are sitting here like you have 200 spider people coming after this boy, and y'all still sitting there cracking jokes. Like, what? But it was fun because it kind of broke up the seriousness of it, even though, here's my thing. You keep saying that Miles wasn't supposed to be a spider person. He wasn't supposed to do this. You have a 15-year-old spider boy getting the best out of all of y'all. All of y'all. He was literally on somebody's back and y'all couldn't catch him. Or you couldn't.
That was funny as shit. He turned around and he was just like,
he was like, Miles, and everybody's looking like, and the dude was like, what, do I have something on my face? And he turns around and then everybody's like,
I think all the fanboys will be upset with what I'm going to say, and I think they probably would agree, but they wouldn't agree publicly, that Miles Morales is a superior Spider-Man to Peter Parker in the comic books. He just is.
Okay.
If you read them, yeah, he is. He has a wider range of abilities and powers, and he makes smarter decisions.
Yeah,
and he's not really tied. He's not tied down by having past Spider-Man exist where they've written him a certain way. So people are like, well, you got to stay in this certain lane. It's like Miles is wide open. They're like, we'll do whatever the fuck we want of Miles.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll give him Aunt May and Uncle Ben, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he can have all that. We're going to put Miles right here. We're going to have him do all this shit. I mean, he is a superior Spider-Man. He can shock people. He has an electroshock touch that Spider-Man doesn't have.
Okay,
like
so this is what I was about
device.
To say. So
right.
He has the electroshock touch. He can turn invisible. I don't think I know of any Spider-Man
they don't
that can turn invisible. But also too, the other thing that I realized that's different with Miles and the Peter Parkers, he has both of his parents living. I've never seen that in a Spider-Man story ever. Mm-hmm. It's always been Uncle Ben and Aunt May, or just Aunt May.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get an extra power per parent that's alive. So he has two parents alive, so he gets 2 extra powers.
Wow.
Too soon? Sorry.
You know what?
But he's a very different. If you read
he is.
If you read the Ultimate Spider-Man and the Ultimate Universe, he's a much better Spider-Man than Peter Parker. Okay. And I even think that universe's Peter Parker was like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I think he's dead though. I think he's dead in that universe. But anyway,
about a third of them are dead. It's like at one point.
I do appreciate them bringing in Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider.
Okay,
because he is unhinged.
That was funny as shit. That was fucking hilarious.
Was he one of the ones that Miguel took with them to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
a clone. He's a clone too.
Like, oh, wait, what?
Well, there's a very bad Spider-Man saga where it was a clone saga.
Yeah, the clone
saga. They had someone had cloned. There were several clones of Peter Parker walking around. And there was a short storyline for a little bit where Ben Reilly came. That Reilly is Aunt May's maiden name, and he took Ben. So, yeah, and for a while they thought he was the actual Peter Parker, and Peter Parker was a clone. So Peter Parker was like, okay, well, I'm going to go live a regular life. So Ben Reilly, who had been the Scarlet Spider, became Spider-Man because he thought he was real Peter Parker. Then later it came out he wasn't. He was a clone, just like the rest of them.
Now, why did they call him like Scarlet Spider-Man?
Well, just the Scarlet Spider.
It's just to differentiate between him being Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah. Just like Spider-Punk or Spider-Pig. He's the Scarlet Spider.
But I mean, those are kind of self-explanatory because Spider-Pig is an actual pig. Spider-Punk, he's a punk rock singer, or so.
Well, he can go around be Spider-Man with Spider-Man around. So he has a different costume and he called himself the Scarlet Spider.
Okay.
Except for when he became Spider-Man when they thought he was the real Peter Parker. Come to find out he wasn't. He was a clone. There was another Spider-Man called Kane who was ridiculously overpowered, but they ended up having to kill him. But anyway, the whole clone saga is stupid. Don't even
Okay.
bother with it.
Oh, okay.
But just though that Ben Riley, the Scarlet Spider, was very popular,
Okay.
and he was a little off.
Cause I heard like I went on the opening night. So, you know, the movies usually open on Friday and they always have show times on Thursday. So I went that Thursday night and there were people there like when they saw certain characters on the screen, you could hear some people gasp or some people point or you know like when Donald Glover appeared, like there were literally cheers in the front of the theater because all of us were like, "What?" When O'Reilly, is it O'Reilly or Riley?
Just Riley.
Riley.
Just
Yeah,
Riley.
just
Just
Riley.
When
Riley.
he appeared on the screen, there were a couple people who were like, yes, you know, just kind of light because it wasn't a very loud screening compared to, you know, some of the other movies we've gone to where things have been like let's say No Way Home when Toby and Andrew appeared, you know, there was cheering, that sort of thing. There wasn't a lot of that in this one, but you could tell like who were the comic book people and who were the, oh, I remember this one from the cartoon and I remember that. You could tell who those people were based on their reactions when certain Spider-Man came on the screen. So when I heard his, I was like, okay, I need to find out who he is. But like I said, there's so many of them. Like, okay, let's go back again to Issa Rae's character. I need to know more about her because first of all, you come on the screen being a badass and you are pregnant, fully pregnant, handling your shit. And then you're doing all of this other stuff, and it's almost like she's Miguel's second, and you're doing all of this stuff. And I was just like, I just need to know more about this character because I don't know anything about her. She's
If it's the same, I don't know. I don't know if they meant for her to be the same Jessica Drew, but when Jessica Drew first came as Spider Woman, there was a time when she was actually a spider that had been mutated into a woman, but they retconned that.
okay. Because I was
Yeah,
going to say,
thankfully.
how do you even?
They retconned that.
Okay.
Yeah, she's actually a pretty powerful Spider Woman. She was
Yeah.
pretty good. She was a
She
Shield agent. She was a Shield
really
agent for a while. Yeah,
cool. Okay.
yeah. She's pretty awesome.
Y'all know we're going to see a whole bunch of spider people at Dragon Con this year.
We
Man,
always
they're gonna be everywhere.
there's
They
Yeah,
always a
use
but
bunch
this.
of
even
spider
more
people.
so now because like
You know, at MomoCon they tried to break the world record for spider people.
really?
They only got up to 470 something or 480. The record is like 530, so they didn't get enough
Really?
there.
Oh,
Yeah.
they'll probably try it at Dragon Con. That's
Yeah.
easy. You
They
got
got they got pretty
65,000
close.
people coming, 500 and something Spider-Man. Oh, that's
Yeah,
nothing.
if the MomoCon people have anything to do with it, the ones who went, if they go to Dragon Con,
Yeah, which
they'll
I think a
probably
lot
break
of
the
them
record.
do. So, yeah, but like I said, Dragon Con last couple of years, the attendance has been like between 40 something and 60,000, and that's post COVID. If we get back to
Hmm.
pre-COVID numbers, that's 85,500 and something. That's
Yeah,
nothing. You
we'll
probably
see.
count 500 and something on Friday.
Hmm.
But
One of the other Spider-Man was Superior Spider-Man, which is in the comic books, Doctor Octopus. Doctor Ock tricked Peter into swapping bodies. He was dying,
oh,
and then he died, and Doctor Octopus became Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And he was using his powers in such a weird way where he's probably one of the most powerful Spider-Man there have been because the heightened intelligence as well. But
oh yeah.
a piece of Peter's consciousness is in his brain talking to him. So he started out trying to do bad things, but ended up being good. He's a good guy. So
Mm.
it's an interesting storyline. So it was kind of cool seeing all these different Spider-Man because you're like, oh wow, that's it. That's why I was mad that the captions were going by too fast.
See, I didn't get
So
captions on mine, but
not captions, but the comic book like
the
text
okay,
bubbles
Yeah.
were popping up, and they didn't stay up there very long.
okay,
Yeah, that's another thing that was crazy. Like we were literally watching it's literally a movie version of a comic book. Like I could literally almost feel the pages as they were turning. Like those things. There was something where all the Spider-Man were being sarcastic and they were popping up everything that they were saying. They were like, and I was like, that's just insane. I could see that as like a full page panel. Like.
And as
Now,
much as
I
I
went to
know
go.
about comic books, I did not know about Hobie. That was new to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
really?
think I saw Spider Punk. I didn't know his name was Hobie.
That whole Spider-Man was new to me, and I'm here for it. I
He
need to
was
go
like the
and
best,
get all the
and he had
information.
one of
He
the
was the
best
best.
lines because when we're introduced to him, of course he has his mask on, and Miles is just he's just looking at him because this is somebody that Gwen has apparently become friends with, gotten kind of close to. She slept on his couch a couple of times, and Miles is
Left a
like,
sweater at his house.
right. So
She's wearing
Miles is
his
kind of looking like,
his
hold on, who is
Converse.
this? Right. So Miles is looking at him like, who is this person? Blah blah blah. And when he comes in, Miles is trying to he's trying to show that he's the better person in the most juvenile way possible, because that's what you do when you're a kid. Oh yeah, there's this cool person, but I'm gonna show her that I can be cool too, so she'll like me. And then it's so funny because once his mask comes off and you get the hair, like he's literally Jimi Hendrix as a Spider-Man. And it's so funny because I almost felt like when they did the reveal, it was almost like the lights from the heavens came down and you could hear the angels going, oh, in the background. And then Miles is like, how is it that you are so much cooler with your mask off? And he was like, I was always this cool. I was like, that is the absolute best thing ever. He was
My
so
favorite
much
line.
fun.
My favorite part from him was when Mayday was doing all her stuff, and he goes, "Oh, she's an anarchist."
Fight the system. Man,
Yeah.
shout out to Daniel.
He was a wrong person for Miguel to put any kind of trust into, because he sure enough is not into systems, establishments, or anything.
Absolutely not.
No, because because when they were all getting ready to go after Peter, he was like, yeah, I'm out. And he disappeared.
So just so you know, I quit, and just like dropped his thing.
He was like, I'm not about to be a part of this fuckery. Deuces. And then he shows up at the right time. He was like, yeah, this is what I'm here for. I love it.
And he's the one telling Miles how to break the system. Like, use your whole palm, not just the fingertips.
And even when Miguel had Miles in that little containment and Miles was sitting there doing, Hobie just looked at him. He was just like just gave that small gesture. And Miles was just
shout out.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to Homegirl who fell for Miles' puppy dog eyes and then hit reboot, because she was looking at him like, oh, he is kind of cute. But it was funny. Gwen was like, stop talking to him earlier in the movie.
Shout out to that was Spider Bite. It's like her whole thing was cool. It's like look, I ain't even here. I'm just like you're sitting at home eating Fritos.
At home in my bedroom eating some Doritos.
I was like, you know what? That's such a Gen Z hero. Is like, you know what? I'll be a virtual hero. I ain't gotta be there. That's just dangerous.
I ain't got time for this. It's dangerous.
Exactly.
Like you get hurt in that world, it doesn't phase you. You don't have to change your clothes. Like, whatever. You don't have. That's the best way to be, and you're still there, and you can still do things. Like, I was like, that is so cool. That was so cool. There was another funny moment. I'm trying to remember. Oh, that's why I was like, oh, this is the thing that I think the pandemic spoiled me on, because, when we first started this podcast, it was during the pandemic. Everything was being released on streaming. So we literally could watch the film while we were talking about it. And, you know, if you didn't remember a part, you can go back, look for it, and then just, you know, so I'm spoiled in that because there were so many great moments in that movie. And I was like, I know I'm not going to remember all of them. There was something specific that happened with the Spider Girl or Spider Woman that was in the wheelchair. There was like some kind of dialogue there that I liked, and I cannot remember it now. And it's bothering me. That's why I got to go watch it again and take notes this time. The other thing,
shout out to them voice casting a person in a wheelchair to play the spider in the wheelchair, Spider Woman in the wheelchair.
oh, did they?
I think
Okay.
that's freaking, yeah. I think I was like, you know what? That's pretty freaking awesome.
Okay.
And plus that was a cool ass Spider Girl too. Plus she was sarcastic as shit. Like,
Yeah, and
when
that's
she was
the
like
thing.
talking
I
shit to
know
us.
she said something that made me laugh in the movie, and I cannot
Yeah.
remember it now. But also, while we're talking about things that were said in the movie, so I have been seeing this a lot over the last few days where people are asking like the cast, what was your favorite line in the film or what stood out to you? And a lot of people are going to Miles's line. You know, one of the things about Miles's character that Miguel reveals to him is that he was not supposed to be a Spider-Man. The only reason why he was bit is because the Peter Parker in Miles's world died, and that's who was supposed to get bitten. So, you know, Miles is kind of an anomaly, and he is the anomaly where if he does not do what he is supposed to do, it literally will cause the rest of the worlds to crumble and collapse. Which I'm like, oh, this sounds like a Crisis on Infinite Earths type of thing from, yeah. But anyway, so it's one of those things. And there's a moment on there's like a train that's like going in the air, and they've chased Miles down, and Miguel is sitting there talking to him, and he's still telling him, you weren't supposed to be it, you're not worthy, or all this other stuff. And one of the things that Miles says is, he says, you know, people are always telling me what I'm supposed to be. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. And like, that was the point. Everybody in the movie theater started clapping. They were like, yeah, Miles, write your own story, you know, claim your own whatever, whatever. And it was such a great line. But this movie had so many great moments. And I'm just like, I'm so mad I can't remember just like word for word what some of these things are, because it was so great. Even, you know, the conversation that Miles has with his parents, you know, there's a lot of tension with him and his parents in this movie because of course Miles has a secret identity. They don't know what the secret identity is, but they know that it's causing, whatever it is that he's doing is causing him to, like, he's missing classes. Oh, that, okay. So the funny thing, when they're sitting there talking to the school counselor and she's talking about his grades and she's naming what classes he has, and when she says Spanish B, his parents look at him like, what? Like, his mother literally turns to him and cusses him out in Spanish. Like,
yeah, she's like, mira, mira, mira.
A B in Spanish. She was like, why? In class, she was like, how many? 5. And the counselor was like, no, 6. It's 6 now. But just those little conversations, that was funny. But you know, he's
and so also something someone noticed at that scene, like when she was snapping her fingers, like getting him to look at her. Every time she snapped, there was like a little Puerto Rican flag that kind of popped up when she was snapping her fingers.
What?
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's like I didn't know those either. But then it's like I was watching New Rockstars, and they showed it. Like when she snapped, you see like blue sticks, like blue coming out from her fingers, like she just made it come. So you see the blue, then you see like a red triangle and a white star in the middle. I was like, nah, no way. I was like, but then it's like the second time I watched it, I was like, oh shit.
So it was there.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay.
It's just crazy.
Okay. But
yeah, that was funny as shit. It's like how you, it's just like, well, I mean there are a whole lot of people that speak English that fail English, so I mean, there's that.
So that doesn't mean anything.
Because English is not English. Like, there are whole poems with our words, and Okay, we won't even go there. We won't even go there. English is not
But that
English.
was funny.
But you
And then
know,
he leaves. He leaves in a how wait a minute, hold on. I got a problem with that. You're sitting there with your parents and a school administrator. You're like, oh, I gotta go, and just get up and leave. Sorry, sir. What? Like, yeah, you weren't. I mean, I was like, I'd say, no,
I'd have
man.
snatched his scrawny
This,
ass up real quick. Where you going?
exactly. Excuse me. I'm surprised his mother being a Puerto Rican did just snap him with it and hit him with a chancla and be like, mira, I see you. Oh, that's
well, she was
French.
too
Sorry.
distracted by the fact that not too long after he left, hubby got called because of something going on, and she was like, "You're leaving too?" He was like, I don't know, y'all should be a little bit more scared of her than y'all seem to be. But going back to what I was saying, he's having these tensions with his parents, but at the same time, it's like you can tell his parents care about him, and he has these conversations with them individually. With his father, he has this conversation as Spider-Man, and just basically he's like trying to give his dad some advice, and he was like, give him some space. He does the little wing thing. He was like, give him a chance to spread his wings and do some things. And he said something. What did he say? His dad said something, and he said something to him with a curse, and dad turned around like, what? He was like, what? Everybody in the movie theater died, and oh my god, I cannot remember what it was. Mike, you saw it twice. What was it? When they were sitting there talking, and Miles said something about, oh, you should cut him some slack or something like that. Oh, cut him some damn slack or
when they were on
something.
the stakeout.
Right after that big fight with
Big
Spot,
fight,
when
yeah.
Spot
It was
kind
like,
of went
so
into him,
yeah.
he
Shout out to
said
Miles
something to his
actually.
dad about you should cut him some damn slack or something like that.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
that's what he
he was like,
said. Like, you should
excuse
Stuff
cut
like
him
that.
some
Yeah.
damn slack.
yeah. He was like, excuse me, huh?
How about how Gwen and Miles both have that fake ass lower voice they use when they're talking to their parents. It's
That's
like
every superhero that has ever
she was
existed.
this.
You're gonna
Hers was
disguise
funny
it.
though. She was like, "How's the search going for me?" I was like, "The what?"
Because she actually, I feel like she has a little bit more of a distinctive voice. So she can't just talk to her dad regular and it just not be nothing. Like I can only think of one superhero off the top of my head right now that doesn't really disguise his voice, and that's Superman. And that's because like he literally puts glasses on and he becomes a whole different people
Well,
that a
he
whole different person that
actually
nobody would know.
he does disguise his voice. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he talks a little bit higher.
He talks higher as Clark than he does as well, they don't actually do it in the
It
TV
might not be higher.
shows,
It's just a different pitch.
but
It's like even
he
if
changes the pitch of his voice.
yeah, it's
And
like if you
I
look at the
think
cartoon, it's more easy. It's easier to discern in the cartoons
yeah,
than with Christopher
yeah,
Reeve.
in the
Okay,
animated
yeah, yeah,
series
yeah.
they did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Um
way easier to tell.
and I want to say Dean Cain did it a lot as well. But I
Ooh,
think
It's
a
like
lot
I
of
Christopher
don't
Reeves
his
remember
wasn't
that
really
far
that
back.
Chris
distinct.
Reeve didn't do it. But like I think Dean Cain would change his cadence sometimes,
Okay.
like how he talks. Yeah,
Okay.
but in the animated series they definitely do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I was gonna say
Because
that.
Batman does it as well. When
yeah,
he's Bruce, he changes his pitch as
Yes,
well.
he's
yeah.
probably the most notorious for it. Just thinking about Christian Bale and thinking about even Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson, I just rewatched an interview that he did, and he was talking about the low register that he has to
Mm,
speak in as the Batman. And he was saying that he had to go back in to reshoot some dialogue, and he had to remember how to get back into that lower register because it's not natural for him.
yeah.
So yeah, Batman is probably the most guilty use of that. But
But you're right. I think they pretty much all do it
mm-hmm,
for the most part.
yeah, yeah. But
But for some reason, it didn't seem like in the Spider-Man cartoons, it didn't seem like Spider-Man really did it. He just kind of sounded the same.
and I don't feel like Tom Holland Spider-Man does it either.
Well, what some people say is that like even with Tobey Maguire and them that he really only talks to the people he's fighting. So people don't really hear him talking. It's one of those
Okay.
things. Then when he talks to you, they're in New York and there's millions of people. So it's not like anyone knows who Peter Parker is anyway.
Mm, okay.
To be able to put a voice to the face or
Okay.
to the suit. So he doesn't have to do it as much as the others.
Okay. And I guess I was thinking about like the Gwens or the MJs, but when you think about their origin story, those are people who really didn't pay him much attention anyway, so they wouldn't really be that familiar with
Yeah.
his voice.
Yeah.
So,
Most
okay.
people don't hear the superhero speak anyway. There's probably people who go walk around have never heard Superman utter a single word. You know, or Clark Kent. They may not have ever heard Clark Kent say anything. They just do
No,
it for the
Clark
people
Kent was
they're
a
normally around.
reporter.
But he wasn't a TV reporter. He wrote stories. He didn't. He wasn't on television as a reporter. He was
That's
a
true.
newspaper guy.
Yeah, but you still got to
I
do his
I can't
intro.
tell
But
you with any
I get what you're
newspaper
saying.
guy. If I haven't ever seen them on television, you won't know who any of what these newspaper people sound like.
Mm.
You don't. So
Yeah.
Unless they
anyway,
interview
we're
him.
in the
But
weeds
yeah,
now.
we're in the weeds.
We're in the weeds.
But yeah,
Shout
I'm
out to
just
Metro
curious.
Boomin. Shout out to producer Metro Boomin for not only producing the soundtrack but actually getting a Spider-Man made after him.
Which one?
The one with the black suit and the white face. Not the big one, but the skinnier one. That was Metro Spider-Man.
I have
Oh,
to watch
okay.
it again.
Yeah. So Metro Boomin is officially. Oh God, he's can I can see. It's like I can't even. I don't even feel right saying canon anymore because it's like canon just fucked. Following canon fucked everything up in this movie, and it's like
Loki screwed Loki really changed everything with the multiverse.
she did.
Loki really changed everything.
Yeah, see, this is almost this like canon. This canon is almost as bad as Star Wars figuring out Star Wars canon. Like, is this
Yeah.
here? This real? No.
And remember what I said when Loki killed He Who Remains. I said this is going to allow the MCU to do whatever
Yeah.
they want to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Whatever they want to do, they can do it now.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they can't. And you can't say it's not canon because the multiverse is broken.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
The multiverse is basically the flex seal of the Marvel Cinematic Universe writing. Like that plot hole, flex seal, and it stops the leak. Then it's like, yeah, the one character doesn't match the other. Multiverse. There. That explains everything. Wait, he's supposed to be dead. Multiverse.
But hold on, because you just threw me with the Flex Seal joke. So now I can't even remember. I was gonna say something, and I can't remember what I was
That's
gonna
what it
say.
is, though. It's like it's a flexible and convenient way to stop a leak and get out of a mess.
I
Flex
know, but
seal.
I was not expecting that to come up in a podcast discussion about Spider.
How long have we been doing this
I
again?
know, I know, I know, I know. It's yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
liable to bring anything out.
This is true. This is true.
I'm a
Oh,
wild
okay.
man. I'm a
So
loose
I know what I was
cannon.
gonna
Right,
ask.
what were we saying?
So we've talked a lot about our reactions and stuff, and haven't really talked much about like the story per se. But I had a question to ask about the spot. So we talked about his character in the film being the product of the collider explosion. He blames Miles for his current condition because, as he says, he can't do anything. He can't, he can't work. He can't get a job. Um, and he has these spots around his body that act as portals. Like he can literally take a spot off, put it somewhere, and it's just it's a really weird power. But then when he's fighting Miles, I forgot what happened. Something happened to where he entered in himself. So like he portaled to
Mm-hmm.
within his body, and then he realized, oh wait, I can actually portal anywhere. And I was like, okay, somebody's gonna have to explain this to me because the story was going, like you said, the story was going too fast. and I haven't gotten to my second, okay, I already know what happened, so now I can pay attention to details. I haven't gotten to that viewing yet. So explain what was happening with his portals when he was within himself.
He essentially went into a different dimension inside himself,
Okay.
which gave him his portals access to the multiverse.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. So it's kind of like
Basically,
That's what I'm saying. It
he's
was
still
different. It's different than what he can do in the comic books. In the comic books, he stays in the universe. He can just change location through the portals.
okay.
Like he can go wherever he wants in the universe. Here they made it multiverse.
Mm,
So that's and it's pretty much a writer's thing. You really there isn't an actual explanation for it.
okay.
Just the fact that he can enter a different dimension that his portals give him access to the multiverse.
Okay. And that's
I
how he
mean, plus
can go
he's
and
he's
recap.
still learning what the
Yeah.
extent of his powers.
Okay.
So it's like he's a new villain. So I mean he can't even reach in and pull the money out of an ATM, right? So it's like he can. I mean he's just now figuring out how to manipulate things. So once he figures it out, he's gonna be that's a problem. That's a big
I
problem.
mean, he became a problem, in the
The
film
next film is
because
gonna be a
when
real
he
problem.
did
Yeah.
figure out, okay, this is what I can do. Hey, I can go find
Yeah.
basically
He's
he was finding colliders on the other in
yeah,
the
he's
other
trying to become more powerful.
yeah. Yeah.
Which they didn't explain that too clearly,
Okay.
but we just have to go with it. Like
Right.
Mike always says, just go with it.
Right.
Sign.
Oh,
The other thing, he's basically America, except America opens portals as opposed to having the portals on her. It's the same thing.
oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. But while we're talking about him visiting multiverses and all this other stuff, um I don't know who came up with the concept of the India Spider-Man, like that whole universe and the way that the world is like multi-level and is I
Yeah.
was watching this like, can this be a thing? Can we play more with that world? It was so I was just looking like I felt a little bit like the Fifth Element because that's kind of how the world was there. You have all these different layers and you've got cars that are driving straight up and you've got like a street here and a street here and it was so colorful and it was just
That was the actual Spider-Man comic book. So
really
Yeah.
okay.
He's an actual Spider. I do know.
Okay.
No, I never read it, but I do know that one.
Okay.
No,
And
of
his
that one.
character, that Spider-Man was fun too. Because he
But if I'm not mistaken, he was actually it was in Mumbai, not Mumbat, but whatever Mumbattan, whatever they put him
yes,
in.
that's
Yeah.
what it was. Yes.
Yes.
I couldn't
Yeah.
remember what
It
it
is.
was called.
Yeah. In the comics, it is Mumbai.
It's Mumbai, yeah.
Well,
They
it's Mumbai in a certain universe.
Yeah.
Mumbai is a combination of Mumbai and Manhattan in
Yeah.
the universe that he's in.
Okay.
So,
Okay. That
but yeah, he
Spider-Man
was
was
cool as shit.
funny because he kept trying to match make. I'm like, dude, they're sitting here trying to literally stop a multiversal catastrophe, and you're trying to match make. Again, those things when they happen in these kinds of films, they are hilarious to me because I'm like,
No, when he was telling his story and he was like, and Miles was like, "Oh, I've had chai tea." He was like, "What? What did you say? What did you say, chai tea?
Like saying
You just
TT.
basically said TT. Like chai is tea."
That was like a reference to him saying, "Why do people say ATM machine?"
ATM, yeah,
yes,
because
PIN
it's
number,
an automatic
put
tell
in your
machine
PIN
machine
number.
right, because it's literally personal identification. What is it?
identification
Personal
number
identification
personal
number.
identification number
Yes,
number.
yes. I was like, okay,
Yeah, he was one of my favorite ones. It's like
I yes.
he was
Because I was
He was
like,
telling the
these
story. They were
jokes,
like,
these are Michael level jokes.
perfect. I was like, of course it's Dopinder. I love this guy. Just like I get my Deadpool connection and everything. But yeah, his was cool. Like he had the his bracelet came off and he used it as I can't remember the name of that toy because it's a certain toy that kids play with like that. It's like you can like pull it tight and the spool will jump up and you catch it and spin it around and stuff. And it's like that's cool
Oh
as
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think I've given myself a concussion with a couple of those. But I so, but just see him use that was just cool as shit. And him talking about his perfect hair. It was like, do you use products? Like, no.
I'm telling you, all of these Spider-Man characters, even the ones that were slightly annoying, they were all fun because it's like you always have in your head an idea of what these these superheroes are, and mainly for people like me who don't read the comics or who haven't had a chance to read the comics or whatever. So it's like we have this certain idea of what these characters are supposed to be because this is what we've grown up with, whether it's from word of mouth, whether it's from like TV shows, cartoon series, that sort of thing. And so to see this character of Spider-Man that is pretty well defined in our lifetime, because we've had what at this point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different Spider-Man movies that all have variations, but they all are still core in some ways as far as what the character is, the character's family, the character, how they interact with friends. They're all kind of consistent. So to see variations of this character on such a huge scale, it's almost like Wanda times 100, because we got to see different variations of Wanda. We've gotten to see different variations of other characters, and then to see this, and it's just kind of like, whoa, there's so many possibilities. Like, okay, you want a black Spider-Man? Oh, you've got one here. You need a Spider-Man that has a disability? Oh, you have one here. You have a Spider-Man who's not actually a Spider-Man, but a horse with a mask. Oh, you got him here. It's just, there's so many different ways that you could see them, but they all still kind of had that same personality trait, character trait, in that they really wanted to do what was right. I just think some people were taking it a little bit to the extreme. Miguel, I'm talking about you, but
Looking at you, Miguel.
and I know we haven't seen the last of him because this movie was part 1 of 2. Now I don't know what they're gonna do in the second one, but I was like, we have not seen the last of this dude. We haven't. But I think it was interesting. I think we touched upon this earlier. So what happens with all of this is Miles finds out that in order for everything to stay stable, in order for the multiverses to not collapse on themselves, that sort of thing, blah, 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 his dad is going to have to die. His dad is being crowned, is being promoted to captain. There's going to be a big ceremony.
We don't know for certain.
Well, what Miguel
Miguel
said, yes,
assumes
what
that
he
is going,
assumed.
because we also see that um I think what Gwen realizes is her dad quit, so he's not going to be a captain. Because remember, she was told he was going to become a captain and die. Well, that changed.
Yes,
so right, and that didn't change. That didn't do anything in her universe. So it's possible Miguel's making assumptions that may not necessarily be true.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay.
But
So
yeah,
minority
that's
report
what they
basically.
believe. Yeah, but that's
yes,
what they believe.
yes, that is very similar to Minority Report. So based on Miguel's assumptions, this is what's going to happen. Miles's father is going to die, and that's the only way that all of this is still going to work. So of course, this is where Miles is like, hold up, so you telling me I got to sit here and let my dad die, like literally sit here and watch him die? I'm not supposed to do anything about it, and I'm just supposed to sit here and be cool with that? Nah, I can't do that. So he goes on this race to get back to his particular universe, because again he's in a different version of his world, and he goes back, and he comes out of his bedroom and he sees his mom, and he's at this point he's made the decision to tell his mom that he is Spider-Man, because he's like, okay, I can't keep doing this, I can't keep putting them through this. And especially when you find out that your dad may be dying in the next 48 hours, that kind of makes you reconsider the ways that you have been acting and treating him. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, okay, you know what? I need to come clean. I need to be honest with my parents so that we can do this. And, I can help them figure out how we can keep my dad safe, keep him alive, blah, 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 blah. So when he makes this reveal, his mom is looking at him like, what? And I don't know what I thought at that moment, but I did not put it together, the fact that he was in the wrong universe, until she said something about his hair. And I was like, wait, what? Because she said something about you changed your hair, and he didn't know what she was talking about. Then when his uncle comes in the house and they start talking, and also the dialogue his mom was saying, she was like, look, I can't do this. Like, I got to take care of you. I got to take care of me. She made no mention of his dad. And I was like, oh, his dad is not alive in this universe. Or I was thinking he's already too late. So then when the uncle comes in and sees him, he starts acting kind of weird. He was like, oh no, I can do it, oh, he needs to go to the store. Oh no, I can take him, we can go. And I was like, something ain't right about this uncle. He ain't right. Because he wasn't right in the last one. So he's not right in
He ain't
this
right
one.
in no universe. Is he right?
He ain't right. So he takes Miles up to the roof, and he's asking Miles a question, and Miles turns and look, and whereas in his world there was a big mural to his uncle painted on the wall, because
No,
of
to his
course
dad.
yeah, no, in his original
Oh
world
yeah, in his
there's
yeah,
a mural of his uncle,
his
because
uncle.
again nobody knew his uncle was a criminal. He
Right.
died and kept that secret. But in this world, you look up and there's a mural to Miles's father. So I was like, oh, this is about to turn bad. And of course Miles gets knocked out. So when he awakens, he is in somebody's apartment, loft apartment. He's strung up, and Uncle Aaron is basically telling him, I know you're not who you say you are. And when Miles is turned around, there's another version of him. The hood version, I will say, he's the juice character. That's what I thought about when I saw him. He's got the braids, he's in the Prowler costume. I'm just saying.
He has the Puerto Rican accent. So this one has spent more time with his mom.
Right, right. And
I bet he
he
won't get a
is,
B.
huh?
But he won't get a B. But yeah.
But yeah, he's the one that's actually the Prowler, and they're kind of looking at each other and talking. It was so weird watching these two on the screen together, knowing they're technically the same character, but they're not the same character. And it was just so weird, because also one of the things that I liked about the film was the way they did the artwork for the different characters. So like you would have four different characters with different art styles all on the same page, or all, on the page. Like you said, it was like looking at a comic book, because that's what it felt like, especially because Hobie is really drawn. He's almost drawn like he's a pencil drawing. And then you have somebody else that's drawn this way. There were
Or like
some
the vulture in the beginning who was drawn
Oh my
with the
God.
Renaissance
yes.
That was brilliant.
style.
Yes.
Like,
And Jessica, there were some scenes where they had a close up on her, and it almost looked like it was actually Issa Rae, like the person, with like some kind of makeup to make it look like she was part drawn. It was so weird.
Yeah.
But that's
And
how I
Ben
was.
Riley was actually like comic book, like comic strip card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So watching these two Miles on the screen, even I felt like were drawn slightly different. So it was like enough for you to tell, okay, this is the same character, but it's not the same character. And this is how you know it's not the same character. Like you said, this character has braids. This one has like a small fro. This one has a Puerto Rican accent. This one doesn't. This one has on a Prowler costume. This one has on a Spider-Man costume. This one, like I said, the way they were drawn was slightly different. At least that's the way it looked to me. Like there were certain things about them that made you say, "Oh, okay, this is not the same person at all." And I love that because again, you got to see so many different ways that these characters are brought to life. And I just, like you say, Anthony, it went by so fast, especially some of the scenes, like some of the chase scenes. You couldn't really focus on anything because there's so much action going. I can't wait till this comes out on streaming, so I can freeze frame Anthony, so I can freeze frame
Yes.
and just look at, like, I really want to be able to look at all the detail because like you said, there was so much that went into making this film. I think I read an article yesterday where one of the artists for one of the Spider-Man was like a 19-year-old kid. And I was like, wait.
Yeah, I also read somewhere where there was one point where they were spending like an hour per minute or a day for 1 minute of animation. Something ridiculous like that.
That's crazy. But that makes sense given the product that they've given us not once but twice.
And all the
Right.
different, like you say, all the different styles of animation in one scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of effort and work it takes to do that.
And to make it look like this is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
This film was it was incredible. And I know this means we're probably going to have to wait another 2 years for the next one. We got no mid-credit scenes or anything. Somebody said, y'all know we spoiled. Y'all could have gave us a mid-credit scene.
All the effort they put into the movie. Which
But you could have had a live action mid-credit scene. I mean, Donald Glover was just sitting there. So you could have had his character do something, but no. I enjoyed this movie so much. I can't wait to go see it again. I don't know when I'm gonna be able to because between Transformers Rise of the Beast comes out this week and then The Flash comes out next week and I just I have to go. Yeah. I have to go see this movie again. I'm gonna have to.
So before we wrap up, I just want to talk about the conversation that his mother had with him, which made me think of all the conversations that we've heard from an Aunt May or Uncle Ben, where she's like, I just want you to be somewhere where, you're accepted and, you feel like you belong. And he gets to that point and they treat him like he doesn't belong, and they tell him and I think that kind of resonated with me and I think a lot of people, because sometimes it's how we feel in certain situations. Like we know we were supposed to be there, and then when we get there, the people there look at you like, why are you here? Like you don't belong here, you don't deserve to be here, or whatever. And you have to end up doing your own thing, which is what Miles did. And I just thought, yeah, and I just thought that was a really touching moment. Because I think when he sees his mom, not his mom, he says, "Yeah, I went there, and everything you said, you know." I don't know. I thought that was a really good story beat for this movie, and I think that kind of encapsulated Miles's trajectory on where he is and where he ends up.
Yeah, basically, don't let somebody else tell you who you can or can't be.
Yeah.
Or in this case, who you can be, because like Miles said, he's going to write his own story. He's going to do it his way.
And fuck what Miguel said. I got bit by the spider. It doesn't matter what you say, whether or not I was supposed to be me or not supposed to be me. Right. It happened to me, period.
Yep. And I'm going to figure this thing out.
Yeah. But we also know there's no such thing as coincidence. in the MCU, so he may have been meant to be bitten by that spider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. Do you think this is going to tie in at all to the bigger MCU picture? Or are they still going to kind of keep that over to the side?
I think as long as it's a Sony product, it's going to sort of be tangentially related
Mm-hmm.
in the way that like all the other stuff was sort of mentioned. But I mean, I would love it if we do have Secret Wars that Miles Morales is there. I think that would be amazing.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to know. I'm like, is Miles Morales and our Peter Parker ever going to meet? I mean, you pulled in the Toby and you pulled in the Andrew into the story. We can get a little bit of Tom in there. I mean, just for a little bit. But,
We
hmm.
may get a multiverse version, a different version of Miles Morales,
Mm.
which would be cool. Either way,
Well, aren't they talking about doing like a live action Miles Morales? I don't know if it's a show or movie, but I have been hearing like murmurs of that.
I haven't heard.
Yeah, because
That would be cool though.
yeah, I think they've talked about it, and then of course the fans have gone online and done their fan casting, and I've seen a little bit here and there, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to pay attention to that until we know for sure that's what they're doing because I'm
Wait,
getting
for what
to,
now?
huh?
Casting for what? I must have missed that. Casting for what?
Live action
Miles
Miles
Morales live
Morales.
action.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, because I'm just gonna kind of, I don't want to say be weary about it, but I'm just not paying attention to it too much right now because we've had so many announcements of certain things that are supposed to be happening, and then for whatever reasons they're not happening, or like right now there's the writer strike going on, so there's a lot of things that are not in production. The whole thing with Blade is like Blade keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed because first they can't, they can't find a good writer, then they change directors, and then they do this, and so it's kind of like I had such anticipation for Blade, and now I feel like it's not going to happen because
I
of
don't
all
think
of
it's
these
gonna happen.
things that are
I don't
happening.
think it's gonna
So
happen.
so
Yeah.
anything that I hear about a live action Miles Morales, I'm just going to kind of keep that over here in this bubble until we start getting some concrete things, and even then I might just be like, okay, what are they going to do, because
Yeah.
we've seen.
The But back to your question about are they going to tie it in? The difficulty is going to be he's animated and he's popular as he's animated,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that would be hard for them to translate that into live action and bring that same energy
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
character. That would be very difficult to do,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I wouldn't see them trying to do that. But
Okay.
like I said, maybe they'll do another version of him. But the version that we like, it probably won't happen.
Right.
Like not this version.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm real mad that that they could get anything done in time for Don Glover to play him because they only had the window wasn't even that big when they were thinking about doing it. So it's like because he would have been perfect since he was basically based on him.
And that was how long ago?
That's when he was in Community.
Yeah, that was a while
Oh,
ago.
That's a minute ago.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Because I
but
know
it's like they had that. Go ahead.
someone posted like one of the pictures, and they were like, everyone should thank Donald Glover because it was really because of him that we even got, a Miles Morales. And when I looked at that picture, I was like, oh my God, he's a baby. Like, how long has this thing been in development or been?
Mhm.
Yeah, because he looks so young. So, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Mike, you got any final shout outs before we start wrapping this up?
real quick. The guy's name who I was trying to think of before is Josh Keaton. He actually played the Spectacular Spider-Man in the cartoon, and they put the cartoon version in the movie so he could use his voice so he could play him in the movie. So that was his name, Josh Keaton. Um, Shout out to Jeff Koons having his balloon art cut in half and exposing other little bitty balloons when the Vulture was trying to rob the museum.
Okay,
That was actually that was based on a Jeff Koons. There's a Jeff sculpture that is the exact same as the one in the movie. Now, Jeff Koons, he does like those really big. He does that's the kind of art that he does. So shout out to him for getting in the movie. Um, shout out to shout out to Andy Samberg and Joria Lonely Island having 2 out of 3 of their members in the movie, like having reasonably vital roles. Like I loved Andy Samberg's portrayal of Scarlet Spider. Like he was just angsty and depressed, and I was like, and he put like banging his head on the wall. I was like, oh, bruh, that is fucking classic. Um, oh, I have another theory. So when they have the portals and they're going from place to place, they're like, what shape are they in? They're in hexagons. So hexagons equal hexes. That means Mephisto confirmed. Mephisto's going to be in the next one. Calling my shot. He's already going to be in Ironheart, but I bet they're going to introduce him a little bit earlier in the next one. And if this actually comes true, I'm going to be mad as hell I didn't play the lottery, but I don't expect it to be true.
And on that note, that is it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.